116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark, that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. I'd just like to draw your attention, if I could, to the Bible, which Shakespeare obviously would have been extremely familiar with, and it is also, if you don't mind my saying so, a very fine work of literature, among other things. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8 springs to mind as we read this sonnet. Love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. You know, he's more or less rewriting 1 Corinthians here, and speaking of love in very idealistic ways, that it is not a thing that alters upon a whim, it is not fickle in some way, it doesn't change, it is a constant, if you like, rather, again, very Platonic. Plato's ideal is the constant, the perfection of the idea, the perfection of feeling, and the thing that makes something great, that makes something beyond, that makes something worthy, is that it is unchangeable and unchanging. And love, of course, the perfection of love is love that does not change. Love's not time's fool, so it is not subject to change over time. The rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. What an image, right? Rosy lips and cheeks. This is, of course, the ideal of beauty in children, that children and very young adults have a lot of color on their face, and as they age, they lose that color. His bending sickle's compass come, reference, of course, to death, the reaper. The reaper carries a sickle. It's a kind of a double image, if you like, that has always been in civilization. Any civilization that grows grain and uses grain and depends on grain for the life of the people, right? Bread making or rice or whatever. The sickle is that metaphor of death, because the sickle is used to reap the harvest, and the reaper, of course, is an image of death, that it takes the grain, that death takes us. So death ending youth. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. So very strong ideal here. 129 is the first poem that we have that is written to the Dark Lady. And you can see that there's an entirely different tone when the poems are to the fair young man. It's youth, it's innocence, it's love, it's perfection. Very, very idealistic, and in some ways patterned very strongly after the Petrarchan Italian style of the sonnet that idealizes love. As I said, Petrarch fell in love with Laura, and he never even met her. Um, that's love that's beyond this earth, isn't it? There's nothing earthly about it, and in some ways, because there's nothing earthly about it, it's kind of not there, if you like. His sonnets to the Dark Lady, though, they're earthy, very, very earthy, very, very present in the moment. And in a way, what is most charming about them is the fact that he is obviously talking about a real woman, and a real woman with flaws. So, 129, the expense of spirit and a waste of shame is lust in action. And till action, lust is perjured, murderous, bloody, full of blame, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust, enjoyed no sooner, but despised straight. Sounds like guilt to me. Past reason hunted, and no sooner had, past reason hated, as a swallowed bait, on purpose laid to make the taker mad. Mad in pursuit and in possession so. Had, having, and in quest to have extreme. A bliss in proof, and proved a very woe. Before, a joy proposed. Behind, a dream. All this the world well knows, yet none knows well to shun the heaven that leads men to this hell. 129 is all about temptation, giving in, having your way, and then regretting it. Shame, shame, shame. Evidently, the Dark Lady was not unobtainable. 130 is very, very famous poem, nearly equally as famous as Sonnet 18. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes there is more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak. Yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. Now, 130 quite clearly speaks not only back to Sonnet 18, but also to the entire Petrarchan genre of love poetry that is to a very, very ideal notion of beauty. Your eyes are like the stars, your teeth are like pearls. These very exacting comparisons to some grand and very much larger idea of beauty, something that is very unrealistic. And Shakespeare here is, I think he's doing a very beautiful job of pillorying not the mistress herself, but the idea that a love poem has to be so over the top, so grandiose, has to make comparisons between the lady and objects in the cosmos that are unrealistic. No one's eyes are like stars, and my goodness, you wouldn't want them to be, would you? No one's teeth are like pearls, probably also a good thing. So this poem, My Mistress' Eyes Are Nothing Like the Sun, I suppose a lady could read this and be angry at first, right? That he's saying these horrible things about me. How come he says he loves me and he's saying that I'm not beautiful and gorgeous and amazing? But the fact of the matter is that he is very much, his feet are on the ground too, and he is showing that his love is not based on an illusion, but is very real. He has a clear-eyed understanding of who his lady is and loves her.